One of the best tools that we have in speech and debate for growth is the ballots, which give us advice on how to refine and improve ourselves throughout the year. On one such ballot, I got a comment from the judge telling me not to praise competitors after they finish performing. Now this threw me for a loop because I thought I was exhibiting good sportsmanship, and found out that this annoyed my judge. And so this caused me to wonder, what other things annoy judges? And so I asked our judges to talk on what annoys them. When it comes to competing at a speech and debate tournament, how a competitor carries themselves is very important.
You walk into a round and you're just really calm and respectful and just really kind to your other competitors, kind to me as a judge. Present yourself well in a good suit, having your hair slicked back, or just looking professional around. I think is really key because the way that you act, the way that you look also affects the way that your judge sees you, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. So that's really important.
I've seen a lot of competitors who are obviously new that come in, and when they're waiting for their turn, they're talking to each other, they're talking really down about themselves, saying like, oh, I suck at this, or oh, I hate this topic, or oh, I hate this event, and going on and on about how much they're bad, how bad they are at this.
What I like for the competitors or that have impressed me the most is when they are sure of themselves. They present themselves, they are relaxed, they come and do their best.
Things that competitors do that annoy me are when they are rude and kind of obnoxious. They'll walk in the room like they own the place and are just loud and obnoxious and just full of themselves.
One of the most important things that judges look for in a competitor is preparedness. And with that, a competitor needs to be prepared for his or her event. Otherwise, they will suffer the consequences.
One thing that they need to know, especially Lincoln Debate new competitors, is that they need to do research. They cannot just come and read a paper. They really need to know their topic.
I really enjoy when I'm judging to see the competitors really get into what they're talking about, not seem distracted, not have to stop and think about it, but just go straight through. And because that tells me that they're prepared and they're ready for the competition.
Some things that competitors have done that have impressed me are when they come in and they're double entered and they come in and they say, so-and-so checking in and I have been to my other event, and if I call them right up, they're ready to go, not flustered, and they give a really strong presentation. I think that when they're ready to go as soon as they walk into the door, that is really impressive.
Because speech and debate tournaments take place at high schools, each round can be drastically different from the other. For example, one round you may be in a biology lab, and the next a political science classroom. And so our judges explain why it's important for competitors to be aware of their surroundings.
I think it's really important to pay attention to the room where your event is. Just one example, there have been several rounds where the air conditioning is running and it's very difficult to hear someone over that because it's a loud system. So when you get into a room, listen for something like that or other acoustic issues. Sometimes the walls are really thin and you can hear the round next door, and that can eclipse your performance too. But adjust accordingly. Make sure you project a little more in cases like that, but definitely pay attention to the room. I think it's great when someone makes the space work for them, then move chairs and desks as they need to. However, I think it's really rude when students get up and leave the round without putting things back. So definitely, as long as you're not double entered, make sure you put things back where they should be before you leave.
Our Mesquite judges explain why it's very important to be aware of who your judge is.
Another piece of advice is to know your judge. Not all judges are the same, and not all judges look for the same things. For example, I've heard that younger judges don't want you to thank them, and they don't want you to shake their hands. Whereas an older judge appreciates that and thinks that you're showing good manners. So, pay attention to who's judging your round and adjust accordingly.
When competitors come up and shake my hand and try and kiss up to me, I really think that turns me off a lot as well. So there's definitely a fine balance, but just be kind and be respectful and you can't go wrong.
Competitors have done that impressed me are when they come in and they're comfortable with themselves and they are polite and they thank me and they just show some confidence. That's what I like.
Many people think of etiquette as raising your pinky when you're drinking tea. But at a speech and debate tournament, etiquette is so much more, because this is pretty much the first impression you make on your judge.
You do not be rude or impolite. Not just in the round, where the judge is in the room, but even outside. Sometimes as you're walking to and from rounds, your judges are walking to and from the ballot table. And believe me, they hear you and remember you for that. You may not think that's important, but eventually that judge is going to judge you at some point in the year. And you do not want to be remembered and already walk in and have a strike against you for bad behavior.
I've had competitors in rounds just snicker and talk to one another in between people's performances, and I just look over at them and I will give them a stink face because I just think that it's really disrespectful and unkind, and you really want to create a supportive environment for everyone, and it's disrespectful.
Not only do am I aware of the competitor that's up front at the moment, I'm aware of the other competitors that are in the room. And if they're being distracting, which by talking or fidgeting or giggling or talking to somebody else, which I've had that happen in a room that I've been in, and that really bothers me that they're not giving their full undivided attention to the person that's up presenting at the time.
Under no circumstances should you ever pull out a laptop and start typing during someone's performance. I know people use laptops during debate. This was actually an IE event, but I found that incredibly rude and distracting. I actually was not judging that round, I was observing, but had I been judging, that person would have caught a lot of flack.
Whenever I'm judging like a debate, mainly I did PF, it really would bother me when a competitor didn't let the other person finish. They just kept interrupting, and never let them finish what they were saying. I just thought that was really rude, and I didn't appreciate that at all.
Competitors have done when they annoy me, it's when they ask me what is my paradigm, and I tell them, and they ignore them. If they don't want to follow the rules, then they shouldn't ask for those questions.
One of the worst offenses is something that I know everyone's told not to do, but you'd be surprised it happens at least once a tournament where someone just barges into the round without listening to see if someone's still going, and it messes things up a lot of times for the person or throws them off their game. I actually had a round where someone, barged in, then left, and then came back in without waiting for the person to finish. Needless to say, he got a couple of nasty comments on his ballot.
Because judges are so vastly different on their opinions of what they like and what they dislike, it's virtually impossible to come up with a comprehensive list on what to do and what not to do at a speech and debate tournament. But by following the examples of what our judges have laid out, I can guarantee that you're at least going to be ahead of the game when you step into your first tournament.